There are many unusual stories out there about people who got caught in such absurd or inconvenient situations that they seem straight out of a movie. Whether harassing someone, acting outside the law, or even being caught in embarrassing circumstances, many people end up going viral on the internet. These are the moments you are going to watch today. Michael Jace, known for playing Officer Julian Lowe in the series The Shield, was convicted for the death of his wife, April Jace, in 2014. The case generated significant attention, revealing difficult moments in the couple's relationship and the events that led to the tragedy. During the trial, Michael was found guilty of second-degree homicide and sentenced to 40 years in prison. The sentence reflects the seriousness of the case, which had a major public impact. The crime took place at the family's residence in Los Angeles, and it was marked by painful moments, including the testimony of one of the couple's children who witnessed part of what happened. One detail in the transcript that drew attention was when Michael allegedly said, "If you like running so much, run all the way to heaven," before the fatal shot. That phrase was used by the prosecution to reinforce that the act was intentional and motivated by jealousy. April, who was 40 years old, was described as a woman devoted to her family and her children. The couple had been married for 11 years and had 2 children together, in addition to children from previous relationships. Now he is serving his sentence while the children cope with the emotional consequences of losing both parents in such a painful manner. The life of Skyler DeLeon took dramatic turns, with a past that includes serious crimes and profound personal changes. In 2004, he and his wife committed a double homicide by stealing a yacht and killing its owners, throwing them into the sea. The crime was only discovered years later when one of the accomplices confessed what had happened. As a result, Skyler was sentenced to the death penalty, but due to the suspension of capital punishment in California, he is currently on death row. However, Skyler's story is not limited to the crime. During his time in prison, he began a gender transition process. In 2019, he adopted the name Skyler DeLeon and started receiving hormone therapy. She identified as a woman, but explained that her attraction remains toward women. This change was accompanied by a new legal identity, and Skyler came to be officially recognized as female. Before this major turn in life, Skyler had a brief appearance on the famous series Power Rangers. He made a cameo as an extra with no lines in one episode, but ended up being mistaken for other actors who had more prominent roles. Even though the role was small, the series helped create the association between Skyler and the entertainment world before life took a different direction. Known for playing the iconic Stephen Hyde in That 70s Show, Danny Masterson won over a legion of fans with his charisma and irreverent humor. The series, which was hugely successful between 1998 and 2006, marked the actor's career, and he also appeared in The Ranch, a comedy series on a streaming platform, alongside his former castmate Ashton Kutcher. In addition to his acting career, Danny was involved in several television productions over the years, solidifying his name in the entertainment industry. However, in recent years, his personal and professional life took a turn. In 2023, he was sentenced to 30 years in prison for sexual assault crimes that occurred between 2001 and 2003. Although he maintained his innocence, he was found guilty of assaulting 2 women, while other charges were dropped due to a deadlock in court. Recently, Danny was transferred to a new prison over safety concerns, as he had been held in a facility known for housing notorious criminals, including Charles Manson. In December of 2024, Danny officially appealed his conviction, claiming errors in the trial and seeking a review of his sentence. This case is very recent, and I doubt you haven't heard about it, but the perks the criminal is getting in prison are infuriating. Sean Diddy Combs is best known as a rapper, entrepreneur, and music producer. He rose to fame in the late 1990s and early 2000s, being responsible for establishing the Bad Boy Records music label and launching successful artists such as the notorious B.I.G., Masse, and Faith Evans. Furthermore, he is one of the richest entrepreneurs in the music industry, having expanded his business interests to fashion, alcoholic beverages, and media. Over the course of his career, Diddy also stood out as a television host, creating and hosting shows like Making the Band. Sean Diddy Combs was arrested in September of 2024, charged with serious crimes including sex trafficking, extortion, conspiracy, and transportation involving prostitution. He remains at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York, awaiting trial. His arrest had a significant impact on the media, with numerous details about his life coming to light, such as the permission for a feast on his birthday in November of 2024. Diddy was allowed cheese pizza, roast chicken, rice, tofu, and other dishes to celebrate his 55 years in prison, a fact that raised eyebrows given the nature of the environment. Additionally, Diddy received permission from the judge to use a computer in prison, with daily access to review his case materials from 8 o'clock in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon in a specific room. This sparked controversy, especially due to the accusations of him manipulating social media and attempting to influence potential jurors, which led prosecutors to reinforce the need to deny further bail hearings. Diddy's trial is set to begin in early 2025, and he continues to be investigated for new accusations related to his conduct while awaiting trial. The figure of Joe Exotic, known as the Tiger King, became world famous after the release of the documentary of the same name on a streaming platform. The program became a cultural phenomenon, revealing Joe's eccentric life running a tiger zoo in Oklahoma and his public feud with Carol Baskin, an animal rights activist. The series, which became a massive hit during the pandemic, showed Joe's involvement in a murder-for-hire plot against Carol, leading to his imprisonment. In 2019, Joe was found guilty of hiring someone to murder Carol and of crimes involving tiger trafficking. He was sentenced to 22 years in prison. During his time behind bars, Joe continued to draw public attention, especially after announcing his engagement to John Finley. Their engagement attracted even more media coverage, with both frequently posting updates about their relationship, even within the limitations of prison. The accusations against Joe were serious. He was convicted of attempting to hire a killer to murder Carol, with whom he had a public rivalry. In addition, Joe was accused of illegally operating a zoo and of involvement in the trafficking of wild animals, specifically tigers. He was accused of killing tigers that were no longer being exhibited and of offering tiger claws, teeth, and skins for sale, in violation of federal wildlife protection laws. In a recent interview, Joe made controversial statements, denying that he ever hired someone to kill Carol and calling the accusation ridiculous. He also expressed disappointment in how he was portrayed in the documentary, claiming he was exploited. Famous for his talents in show business and his successful career as an actor and comedian, Bill Cosby won over millions of fans over the decades. His most iconic role was in the television series The Cosby Show, which made him one of the most recognizable names on American television during the 1980s and 90s. He was acclaimed for his stand-up comedy and for his contributions to the empowerment of African American communities in the media. However, Bill's career was overshadowed by serious sexual assault allegations. Over many years, multiple women accused him of sexual assault, leading to a series of investigations. In 2018, he was convicted of sexual assault against Andrea Constand, a former Temple University employee, and was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison. Bill's imprisonment shook the public image he had built over his career, resulting in the loss of contracts and his withdrawal from public life. In 2021, he was released after serving more than 3 years in prison, when a court ruling determined that there had been irregularities in his trial. In 2023, new accusations and lawsuits emerged, further complicating Bill's attempts to rebuild his life and reputation. Today, he continues to face the impact of these allegations while dealing with the legal and personal consequences. Ryan Grantham, the Canadian actor known for roles in Riverdale and Supernatural, was sentenced to life in prison in 2022 after killing his mother, Barbara Waite, in 2020. During the trial, Ryan pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and revealed he had plans to kill the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. The crime occurred when Ryan, then 24 years old, shot his mother in the back of the head while she was playing piano at home. Afterward, he covered her body with a sheet, recorded a video beside the body, and spent several hours before leaving the house with the intention of killing Trudeau. However, along the way, he changed his mind and turned himself in to the police. Currently, Ryan is serving his sentence in a prison hospital, where he receives psychological care and psychiatric monitoring. His lawyer, Chris, explained that Ryan is truly remorseful for what he did and has been working on improving his mental well-being. He is learning about what happened and why he did what he did. Chris also commented that Ryan recognizes he has a lot of personal work to do, but is committed to it in order to become a healthier and more responsible person in the future. Reporter Karen from a Canadian network spoke about how Ryan had been dealing with serious mental health issues before the crime, including depression and suicidal thoughts, which influenced his actions. Ryan's life sentence includes the possibility of parole after 14 years. Famous for her role on the television series Smallville, Allison Mack got involved with the NXIVM, pronounced Nexium pyramid cult in 2007. She was recruited by a castmate, and over time, even as the controversial and harmful actions of the group grew more sinister and depressing, Allison rose through the cult's hierarchy, eventually replacing the late Pom Kafritz in leading Keith Raniere's personal harem and becoming the second in command of the group of female members, Nexium cult. After Pam's death in 2016, Allison took over the Janess women's group within Nexium. Later, she created a secret subgroup within NXIVM, Nexium, called Master over Slave, in which women were manipulated into serving in a submissive manner. Janess and the subgroup were based on the teachings of the cult leader, Keith Raniere. Members of these groups were required to keep the teachings secret. After Allison took over Janess, it became a recruitment camp for the other secret subgroup, Master over Slave. Women from Janess who were considered the best were invited to join the subgroup, where, after training, they were chosen by Keith to become members of the submissive group. Allison was arrested in April of 2018 on federal charges of sex trafficking and conspiracy to commit forced labor. Federal prosecutors alleged that she used force, fraud, and coercion to recruit and maintain members of the Master over Slave subgroup, instructing them to perform tasks with Keith, among other things. Allison aggressively recruited new women into the subgroup and demanded that these women also recruit others to join the cult. She focused on attracting young and attractive women, based on Keith's sexual preferences. In a released video, Allison dedicated her time to talking about the cult and her role in it, stressing that she was doing deep spiritual work. In 2020, Allison Mack was released after serving part of her sentence. The cult was extensively investigated, and the case generated major media interest. The documentary The Vow depicts events related to Nexium and its victims, and can be found on a streaming platform. The women recruited into the group were also branded with Allison's and Keith's initials, and they were encouraged to follow extremely restrictive diets, given Keith's preference for thin women. Considered one of the greatest music producers in history, Phil Spector revolutionized pop music with his creation of the wall of sound technique. In the 1960s and 1970s, he helped shape the music scene, working with iconic artists and bands like the Crystals, the Ronettes, the Beatles, John Lennon, and Tina Turner. His productions were marked by lavish orchestral arrangements and a unique sound, which made classics like Be My Baby and Imagine immortal. However, Spector's life also took a tragic turn. In 2009, he was convicted of a crime committed in 2003. Lana Clarkson, an actress who was in his home, was found dead in his mansion, and Phil was accused of murder. He claimed that Lana's death occurred in such a way that she might have taken her own life by accident, but the court sentenced him to 19 years in prison for homicide. Phil Spector died in January of 2021 at 81 years old while serving his sentence in a California prison. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.